Shanuki, you have worked in this space for quite some time. When you have gone out there, spoken to leaders who could make decisions that could change tomorrow or that could make an immediate impact, is anyone in the system where they can make a change listening to this angle and point of view?
As a society, we need to stop putting the entire onus on a leader to change anything. As we know in this country, there are policies, there are laws, there are rules, there are codes of conduct, and we as the people don't follow them. So whether or not a leader gets behind a certain agenda makes no difference if the people don't push for it first. It's got to be a behavioral and attitudinal shift of all of us and not just the leaders.
What happens to a sanitary pad that has been used?
Ultimately, it's getting dumped in these sensitive ecosystems, and that really intensify the crisis.
And it's absolutely not recyclable for many different reasons. And for it to act as a really effective sanitary napkin,
it has to have those
super absorbent. Yeah. So its superpower is also its super weakness.
When it comes to the environment.
After it's done, yeah.
It's time.
Sometimes solutions can be a problem. Let's speak about how this cycle works. More on the show today.
Hi, my name is Selyna Peiris. I'm Head of Business Development at Salons.
And I'm Savera Weerasinghe, a regenerative business consultant in the region.
We are here today on Date with Danu to talk about periods, about the women who have them, and the climate that is impacted when we bleed.
Yes, at the intersection of gender equality is climate justice and the future of our planet. So we're here for an intense date with Danu.
I have four people who are here to speak about two very distant topics, but they meet in one place. And that's something that we don't think about so often, and that's what we're going to be talking about. With me on either side, I have Selyna and Shanuki, who have been on the show to speak about this topic prior. And we also have Savera. Got it? I got it.
Savera, but
yes.
It doesn't matter. You can call it whatever you want.
Savera.
Yes.
There you go. And I also have Avinash. Thank you for being here. So let me just categorize this. So we are talking about this topic that we have discussed a lot, which is period poverty. Now, as you know, Salons as a brand has worked on this reusable sanitary pads, and this has been discussed on the show prior. But we have two people who have come to speak about how it's important for us to think of the environment as well, how sustainability works, and that's the angle that we're touching. Shanuki works with Selyna on this project, and we'll come back to that. Now, to start things off, we all know about the fact that now speaking about period poverty is a trend, creating awareness and going out there distributing. It was once a taboo subject to speak about, from first speaking about, don't have it in a bag, to now just have it in somebody's, in school available, talk about it, keep it very open. All of that is fine. But there is an environmental crisis to it, which Selyna was telling me in brief. I would like you to touch on that.
Yeah, I think it's not just about, it's a vital thing to make sanitary hygiene and sanitary pads or sanitary products available. But then what happens after you make them available? Where does that go to? What are the implications of the environment around when they dispose of it? It's a one-time use thing. And then what happens? And I think that's where we need to understand that when you're creating a solution, what are the implications of that solution? Yes, it ticks one box, but what is the longevity of it? What happens behind the scenes just because you now handed it over, and then what? So I think where we really have to understand is that we all live on this planet. Environment, as you said, affects all of us. So we are in this living ecology, and social justice and climate justice goes hand in hand. You can't extricate the two. We're in a polycrisis where everything, it's like a house of cards, right? It's a domino effect. Everything is connected.
But not a lot of people think on those lines, especially even organizations or even government bodies sometimes, when they want to promote one thing or make awareness about it or make it available for everyone, they forget about the ripple effect of it. Now let's speak about, for somebody who may have never thought of these lines, what happens to a sanitary pad that has been used? What is the end to that?
Avinash, maybe you can take that from a...
See, first I would like to also touch upon on how the gender justice and climate justice is the same thing, and we need to make our fight very intersectional. When we say gender justice is a climate justice, is also because 80% of climate migrants we have right now in our region, especially in South Asia, are women. Like, we have women who are facing more climate vulnerabilities in all these areas, whether from Sundarbans to other coastal areas and so on. So yes, like as you said, like there is two different topics, but it's very intersectional, and we need to make it one. And then obviously when we talk about the sanitary pads and other things, we know that how our ecosystem is quite fragile and already like we are in burnt of plastic pollution and all sort of different kind of pollutions. And where we use these kind of sanitary pads which is not reusable, it's ultimately it's getting dumped in these sensitive ecosystems, and that really like intensify the crisis, ecological crisis.
So just to maybe add to that is that it doesn't count as medical waste, so it can't be incinerated or taken care of as medical waste, and it's absolutely not recyclable for many different reasons. So there are all these layers that and they're not recyclable layers. And for it to act as a really effective sanitary napkin, it
has to have those
absorbent.
Yeah.
So its superpower is also its super weakness
when it comes to the environment.
after it's done. Yeah, and so that's the problem. And in terms of climate and women, of every 4 in 5 people that are affected by climate are women and children. So there is no separation
on this particular topic. Now, Selyna, when did you start thinking on the environmental side? Because I know initially it was a lot of awareness about this and making it available for school children, people who are in rural areas. When did this thought come, and how did you find a way to work using your facility plus at the same time remembering and thinking about what's going to be the longer picture?
Yeah. Actually, Danu, from the very start. So this is where I think the climate is not as sexy as the social part of it when we come to talk about this issue. But from the very start, it was not just about creating a product that could serve females living in period poverty, but it was also about a product that reduces the environmental impact of the disposable product as well. So as Celine, we've always been concerned not just about the social side, but also about the environmental side, but maybe we haven't had the opportunity to talk more openly about it, or maybe we weren't heard when we talked about it, because finally it's the more social side that does get picked up, right? So it was very important for us. In fact, when my mother had this idea, she was driven more with the climate aspect of it, as even opposed to the social aspect of it, because it takes 800 years for a sanitary pad to decompose. 800 years. So if you can think about that impact, where a majority of the world's populations bleed, they use sanitary pads, and when you throw it out, in most countries, especially developing nations, we don't have the proper waste disposal mechanisms around this. So can you just imagine that picture in your head of used pads that are decomposing for 800 years when all of us here are long gone?
It's a better legacy than any of us.
Can I just give you another statistic? Is that in Sri Lanka, 963 million pads are used per year.
How much?
963 million disposable pads.
And over the years, all of these are waiting for 800
years. Per year in Sri Lanka. So,
And this is not even being available everywhere.
Yeah.
yeah.
So this is where the thought process of, I mean, Selyna, the Selyna Foundation Bleed Good movement, the idea was to create product that could reach women when they don't have any other option. Women who are using cloth as the
Means right now.
as the means right now. But at the same time, I mean, if you look at the impact of what this product can have and this movement can have to alleviate the climate impact, the negative climate impact, might be controversial to say, but it could even outweigh the positive social impact that we are creating. Because, I mean, our mothers, our grandmothers used to wear cloth. And at that point, yes, there was no discussions around safety.
And there was no discussion around even periods.
Exactly. But now, coming over the years, when we are having more open discussions, especially in Sri Lanka, I don't think it's the case around our region, we can't then forget, as we right a wrong, we can't forget that there is a climate that is also wronged in the process.
Avinash, just for the ones who are watching this show, I would like to know about the work you do and what you have been involved in so long.
So I work for Greenpeace South Asia, and at Greenpeace we have been running different campaigns. One campaign we are running on climate justice, where we are demanding and we are building the case that in this region, in the South Asia, we are already in the midst of the climate crisis. Like for our communities, it's not something like climate change is not something which will happen in future. It's already happening. It's like our communities are facing in their daily lives, whether it's a cyclone, heat wave, floods, and all sort of different kind of climate damage we are seeing. And unfortunately, the government is not paying attention to it. Like we don't have efficient climate adaptation policies for our communities. And the truth is, for most of the developing nations, we don't have money for it, right? So we are saying that we need money, like we need a climate finance. And like right now, if you know all these debate about climate finance from developed countries and all those things we are saying, but we are not pinpointing who is real culprit behind it. When we say climate crisis, 70% of climate crisis is happening because of burning fossil fuel like oil, gas and coal by a big major polluters, big oil companies, big international gas companies. But no one is holding them accountable. So in our campaign, we are trying to build the case that these big oil companies needs to pay, and this money needs to go to the communities, needs to go to the women communities, the working class communities, so that they can adopt the climate crisis they are facing right now.
Avinash, if I ask you, what is the biggest threat that we have to anticipate in the near future, what would it be?
I would say it's one, like, as I said, like we are already we have to think and work like we are already in that threat. We are
Because
living
we
in
are.
that threat.
Yeah.
The action needs, like which we needed to do on climate is yesterday. It's not like something we need to do in future. Then obviously our ecological, like whether it's the oceans, whether it's our forest, our natural biodiversity, it's in a danger, right? So we definitely, that threat is also there. But I would say like we need to start thinking about this threat, which is we are right now living every day. It's not something which will happen in the future.
Right now, the unsexiest word is polycrisis. It's all so connected.
Yeah.
Correct.
And I would also like to say that like if we are also saying in our campaigns that right now we are in a transformation phase. Everyone is trying to talk, at least pretend to talk about climate solutions, green, sustainable is becoming new buzzword. But if we are not going to change the same system, which always historically prioritize profit over people, we are not going to solve the crisis, whether it's climate, whether it's a social, or whether it's a gender, and all sort of crisis.
We'll come back with more. Do stick around. This Day with Danu. Big shout out to our friends at Crystal Luxury Wellness for joining us on Date with Danu. You know what's amazing? They are evolving every single day with something better, bigger, and absolutely new to Sri Lanka. When it comes to medicine and when it comes to using cosmetology, they have taken it to another level. Not isolating the Sri Lankan medicine, everything is there in terms of finding solutions for your mind, body, and soul. Now, with Crystal Luxury Wellness, you get to enjoy some amazing treatments from acne to hair loss, weight loss, you name it, they have it all. Or if you're just an active person who wants some more, what can I say, strength in you, well, you can also check out the Elixir Clinic. All this and more when you do check out Crystal Luxury Wellness, or give them a shout because their call center is ever willing to support you on this. Welcome back to the show. I wanted to speak to Savera a little bit about the work that you do and what has kept you involved in this space.
Yeah, so when we talk about climate justice or gender inequality or climate justice, they are both symptoms of a broken system, right? The systems that we're in right now. If you look at the way we do business, for example, it's scarcity is the paradigm in which we work on, right? And it's extractive, it's a winner takes all mentality, it's competition, right? It's scarcity, so we compete. And that has completely externalized women and the environment. And so what I do is try to say, how can we re-strategize? How can businesses look at putting all life, and specifically life that nurtures and creates, like women, like the environment, at the center, and then we can build our strategies. This is not saying to leave existing businesses behind. I mean, I've run businesses, I've worked in businesses. It's about putting these, instead of externalizing them, we're putting them into consideration and making decisions based on that. And that's what regenerative business is. So we're talking about sustainability, we're trying to get to this, sustain the situation as it is, but we can't afford that. Look at where we are, as Avinash told you. I mean, we are at 6 mass extinction. There are so many communities that are impacted, droughts, floods, fires, hottest days. So we can't really afford sustainability anymore. So we need to start looking at how do we start restoring things? How do we start regenerating things? And we have to start where the problem has been caused in the first place. And that's business quite often, right? It's like extractive business that's taken, not really considered where it goes. Yeah, so that's kind of what I do.
Shanuki, you have worked in this space for quite some time, especially with Selyna as well. I just wanted to know, when you have gone out there, spoken to leaders who could make decisions that could be, that could change tomorrow or that could make an immediate impact. I don't know whether Sri Lanka is in that mindset or the leaders of our country are in that mindset to think of something that is not so tangible for them at this very point in time. It doesn't hold positions, it doesn't give you a glamorous title, it will not come with a good entourage. Is anyone in the system where they can make a change listening to this angle and point of view?
I'm going to counter that a little bit. Right? Because I think just as people, as a society, we need to stop putting the entire onus on a leader to change anything. Because as we know in this country, there are policies, there are laws, there are rules, there are codes of conduct, and we as the people don't follow them. So whether or not a leader gets behind a certain agenda makes no difference if the people don't push for it first. And people are the ones who are ultimately a leader to get to that position of power, does what he or she thinks the people want. Because that's the politics, right? You got to please the people to stay in power. The people have to push for the right thing. It's got to be a behavioral and attitudinal shift of all of us and not just the leaders. Because I think where we have seen it happening in Sri Lanka many times, policy changes when there's enough of advocacy and movement and mobilization by citizenry. And for us, the challenge here in this case, it's about how do we make people care, because this is impacting them. This is not just us tree hugging and being do-gooders and saying change your life, right? How do we make a society that has become so apathetic and so comfortable with convenience at the cost of putting their lives and their families and their futures at risk? How do we make them care enough to say, this is not how I want to live my life? You don't need a leader to tell you that. You just need to inform yourself a little bit, see how your environment is changing, understand that it is little shifts in your lifestyle that you change that can make such a huge impact. And then when more and more and more people are following this, then policy making is super easy. Policy making is saying, look at how the people are behaving, now do something so this country keeps up with the people. But yes, it is definitely just having worked with policymakers both here and regionally, it is difficult to convince them
Because
that certain decisions
do
need to be
they
made.
understand the importance or the severe impact that this could have today in our environment,
I
just like
think-
how Avinash said? Do you think they
Yeah.
understand that?
I think it will.
Or they ignore, although they understand?
I don't think they're ignoring. Personally, I don't think they're ignoring. I think just going by the statements that are being made nowadays or certain initiatives that are being taken by the state, there is a push for a cleaner, more environmentally friendly outlook. There are certain sort of commitments that Sri Lanka has made internationally when it comes to the sustainable development goals, when it comes to the climate movements. But it's just, are they prioritizing it? I think they believe in it. I think they want it to happen. But is it a priority right now, or are they trying to sort of fix something else first? That's a question, because we have to see action to believe that they're really serious about it. But I think just for me, I've seen more positive sort of statements or positive approach towards climate adaptation from the present than I have seen in the past. Yeah.
Brilliant. When we do come back, I'm going to be speaking to Selyna, especially about their visits to areas where sanitary napkins were needed the most, and also to people who they have spoken to. What are the measures that people take in terms of disposing the ones that have been used, and how has it affected our environment, and what are the things that we need to be aware about when we do come back? We also have Selyna on board. Now, as you know, it's not only a fashion brand or a brand that has given us glam and beauty. They have also given us something to talk about that really goes deep into our society in contributing. It's like a movement, and it has made so many people come out stronger. I just wanted to ask, Selyna as a brand has worked with so many women, and at the same time empowered them, given them livelihoods, and at the same time created a place for women to be leaders of their homes. Tell me, you have also taken these fabrics made by them globally. What has been the appreciation?
Yeah, I mean, I think we are maybe appreciated more globally than we are here. Of course, we have our wonderful loyal customers who know us for
The work you do.
handloom and the craft, but if you take the model of what Selyna is doing and what I am, my vision for really taking it to the next level, it's so much more than the product. It is beautiful product, but it's also kind of creating this ecosystem for females to thrive. Not just in their homes, but also in leadership roles, in management roles. So yeah, it's a product with a purpose, I think, at its very best.
Amazing. So you heard it from the main person. You can always go enjoy some shopping at Selyna, and you know that you're doing something great. Welcome back to the show. I wanted to touch on this with Selyna. Now, you would have gone there, been at ground level, you would have seen what people do. Tell me about it. What have we seen? You know, we might just speak with our environment, but the countries
At large,
Yeah.
yes. So primarily we talk to women who are not using anything at the moment, using cloth. But in their communities, what we have found is that when they do use menstrual pads, disposable menstrual pads, they are either buried, they are burnt, or they are discarded into the waterways. So, for instance, if you take the pads that are discarded in the waterways, if you go to some areas in Nigambo, you will see, especially where the rivers meet the ocean, you will see pads, you will see also other plastic waste, but finally it's all going back to our earth, right? So even if you bury it, even if you burn it, it goes into our ecosystem and it's creating that kind of a negative climate impact for us. So it's not just I'm going to use it and throw it away. I'm going to eat the fish that was taken out of the waters, which may have the microplastics of a pad. So I think this is where, you know, as a society, we've got so used to, if you don't see it, it doesn't affect you.
It's out of your house, it's out of your mind.
Out of
Correct.
sight, out of mind.
But finally, what we have to understand is we are eating it.
Breathing it when
We are
burn it.
breathing it, and it is touching our skin. It's in our unborn fetuses. It's proven now. So, and this is something that we have to take very seriously. So, I mean, these are some of the, I mean, this is the advocacy that we are doing with the work that we are doing. And also, Danu, if I can touch on the product innovation side. So, for Selyna, we started with a reusable pad. Right, so about 90% of our pad is biodegradable because it uses all the cottons. I'm not going to get into the negative impact of cotton and cotton farming, that's another conversation. But there are the
How do you
discussions.
survive this world?
There are, we are using one layer, a polyurethane layer, to prevent leakage. Now, you could easily innovate, and there might already be innovations out there that is stopped by the bigger kind of conglomerates making money on plastic, that polyurethane layer can easily be from a natural fiber. So there is product innovation that can be made to even make the reusable pad now completely biodegradable.
And that is where we will need a rule or a structure or
Policy,
a
yeah.
policy to be
It
brought
would
through.
help. It would help, because otherwise there are smaller business like us which have to continue to fight the rat race to do the right thing as well, right? And then also right now in our portfolio, it's exactly because of these reasons, we have working with an organization, a very reputed organization in Sri Lanka, where we are creating natural rubber menstrual cups. That's completely biodegradable. It's an 8-year solution. Can you imagine there are solutions in the world which will create zero waste during menstruation? Of course, I'm not going to discount there are cultural stigmas about insertion, the entire discussion around virginity. I'm not going to go there, right? There are certain things we will never see change in our lifetime, and maybe that's one of those, right? But the fact is that there are solutions in the world which never see the light of day, exactly for the reasons Avinash and Savera spoke about. It's that we business don't want to do the right thing. But I think what I strongly believe in with the legacy that I'm inheriting is that business can do the right thing.
And still survive and create something that's impactful.
Correct.
I wanted to ask you, you told me something really interesting with the fact that we're all about taking. When you go into a company or into a work environment or into a business and you try and make these changes where we can coexist with environment, with nature, with people and the surrounding, and still be an organization that is profitable, that's engaging. How many people are willing to listen to that change? And is there a tug of war with you and them trying to
Absolutely.
find a middle ground?
Yeah, the short answer is yes.
Okay.
The more interesting answer is that it was quite often because I ran a family business.
Yeah.
So the argument was very close to home.
It continues all the way to the dining table. Then everywhere.
Totally.
Yeah.
But I think, sadly, I mean, when you talk about environment or climate justice, a lot of people have a defense up against it,
Correct.
like, oh, don't tell me about feminism or don't. But the truth of the matter is, when you talk about something like circularity, there's an efficiency of material use, right? Like, it would make so much more sense, even if it was a food that you were cooking, if you had an infinite supply of the same thing that you could, not you take from one place and you throw it away, you could keep reusing it. So there's a resource efficiency that's there. So quite often I had to take measures and frame it just very differently. And if you talk about it as efficiency, if you talk about it as
cost reduction,
productivity, you can do all these things. But how I did it is not captured in my profit and loss statement. And how I did it is working with community, sourcing locally, doing the things that we know have been done for millennia as indigenous communities, as functioning, thriving communities. It's just that we've just gone completely the other way because we've been told that this is the only way business is done.
Yes.
So it's not changing business, it's just saying, okay, but can we consider some other factors? Can we reshift the lens? I mean, Selyna is not doing some sweet little charity, she's doing a thriving, profitable, scaling business. Right? But with the right intentions, right values. So we
She's
just have
also doing charity, Annie.
but that's on the side.
Avinash, you were trying to add something.
I just want to add two things here. With the climate solutions, like the crisis we are facing, we don't need to, we have already solutions.
Yes.
It's not that you have to invest in more science, more technology, more innovations. All sort of solutions we have already in our place.
Absolutely.
Like the science has done a brilliant job providing those solutions. The second thing is there is enough evidence by the leading economists that says that if you go with the green economy, if you go with the more sustainable business, your chance to get more profit is increased. But I don't know, but still when we talk to these big businesses, big polluters, they are kind of reluctant to change their way of business. It's not because of the profit, but maybe because they simply don't want to change. And the problem is when we say, and that's why I was saying that holding big polluters accountable, even in this case, if we are going to hold accountable these manufacturers who has been in the disposable businesses and all, it can be changed, the things can be changed. But no one, the problem with the government is also that they are also not coming up with the mechanism that can hold them accountable and that can control the production side of it.
Shanuki, you have spoken to people. If you tell me in terms of the importance, okay, it has to be done now. If you have to explain to the ones who are watching this show right now, why should this be implemented and why should it be implemented now, today?
Because if anyone who's watching this show came to the communities that we work with and they see the difference that this is making on women's lives, on girls' lives, and on their families' lives. Mind you, the Bleed Good movement, which is our movement, and it is a multi-stakeholder collaborative movement. We don't own it. We're just driving it along, right? What we do is not just giving women a product. And these are vulnerable communities who are at the receiving end of all the and crap that we in the cities put out there, right? They are the ones who suffer. And these are communities from the time of the ancients who have been living in symbiotic harmony with the environment and with the climate, and unfortunately they also have got now sucked up into this commercialized, convenient sort of thing that we are pushing because the aspirational value that we create is go with the plastics and the disposables and the this and the that and make your life easier, and we are messing up their lives even more because they don't have the privileges or the accesses that we have to get rid of our problems easier, right? So they are suffering. And then if you come into those communities and when you see this kind of solution that we offer them, and you see the level of empowerment that happens. You see the level of change that happens in their environment. You understand the future that you're giving them. When you see how engaged those women and those girls become to change their lives immediately because they suddenly understand this my future depends on this, you realize how you need to be a part of it and how you are the one with the influence to really make that change now. And if you don't, her life is at stake. You can get on a plane and go to Bhutan or go to Switzerland, put your feet up and pretend like you never did anything, right? But you're literally contributing to this issue. So what we're saying is, yes, it would be ideal if we all embraced sustainable living. That's not going to happen overnight, right? But we can contribute towards somebody else being able to do it. And the easiest, the lowest hanging fruit right now is those who don't have access, those who are suffering with period poverty, those who are sort of disproportionately impacted by the climate issues. We can support them because we have the means to do that. So just by supporting these movements, by getting behind movements that are actively helping, you can do that. And you don't, like I said before, you don't need a law to change to do that. You need
thought.
like 1% of what you're spending on a night out to make that change.
Actually, whatever you said now was so well said.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have to get into a break. We'll see you on the other side. You want that perfect smile and you're wondering, how can I get it? It's very simple. There's something called designing your smile now. That's all thanks to our friends at Align. Now these guys have 3 branches in Colombo, making it so much more easier for you. You get a chance to experience what your teeth will look like after your smile has been corrected. Apart from that, they also have all the other services that you need in terms of looking into your health, into your gum health, teeth, and all this and more. But when you do visit them, speak to them about this experience of knowing how your smile will be when it has been looked into by the professionals. You can get to know more details when you do visit them, or you can just go on their social media and come to know more details about how you can redesign that smile. Welcome back to the show. So how is this all connected? We have 4 people speaking about 3 areas of the same topic and how it all connects together. But I want to know what we can do as a society, as a community, what can we do as a country, and at the same time, how do these 3 viewpoints come together and pass that message, and how can it be implemented or worked upon immediately?
So like I was telling you during the break,
I know we are one hand.
we are 4 fingers, but we are on one hand. And this hand needs this planet to survive, right? So that's why there are 4 people who work in 4 different areas, or who have 4 different journeys, are speaking for that one hand.
No, I mean,
I did the philosophical thing.
Yeah.
I believe we need women, we need youth, we need people who care about environment, people who care about social justice. We need everyone coming together, and we need to reimagine the way we are living. We are like thinking about our lifestyle, thinking about our businesses. We need to reimagine our future, and that's where we feel like I strongly believe that everyone needs to come together to do that reimagination of the another world, and make this very bold that another world is possible. The alternative future is possible.
I think we're only as strong as your weakest link, and somehow the weakest link has become environment, women who don't have access to the things. Imagine if we were to raise this baseline. We all lament and complain and go to other countries, as you said, to see progress and development, and we're always cheering on when Sri Lanka is something like Dubai or something like Singapore. But all of this change comes from when we empower women, and all of this, any change comes from when we have a strong and healthy environment that we're all thriving off of. And so it's not so separate. Our mechanistic brains tell us that we need to separate out these topics, but they're not separate. If I care about our future, if I care about our present, the longer now into the future, because there is no delineation, I have to care about the half of our society, which is women. Now, if some of them are held back from our economy, if they're held back from an education, like, how do we go forward as a country? And then on a planet, how do we go forward? Exactly. If we are depleting the resources that every business, every economy, every society is absolutely dependent on. It's kind of redonkulous that we've been able to separate it and live in this world where we can live in this fast fashion, high polluting, single use world. But it's not true. It's not what the reality is. And I think that's, for me, like, everything we do is all very connected.
And I think that was the inspiration even behind the Bleed Good movement, right? So CEYLON as an organization, CEYLON Foundation as an entity, when we conceptualized a movement, by design, we can't work alone. So you see, Danu, there's a lot of work that's happening that promotes a single entity, a single organization. But Bleed Good as a movement is for us to work exactly with so many different people to be able to go towards that one change. And I think if there's one practical output or a practical tip that can be given to bring people together to work, it's that having that mindset of collaboration. That yes, at this point, if we do work together, we have to go out of our way to win, 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 win. Right? There is a win. But if you don't go out of your way, and that's what we see in a lot of, in the business world, in the policy world, in the NGO sector, in the INGO sector, everyone is in their boxes. But we need to stop that, because finally, I mean, it scares me because I have a young daughter who might not have a world to live in. I mean, I'm talking about, we as parents, we are like, what's the best university she can go to? How do you save for her? Shall I buy her gold already? Who is she going to marry? I mean, you know what?
We might not be there.
Yeah, there might not be a world. So I think this...
And that's soon.
Yeah, exactly. It is now.
Look at the weather now, the weather patterns now.
It is now.
Have we ever been in this kind of heat and just this complete,
I mean, the natural disasters, the earthquakes. So I think what we really need to step back and understand as a human species is that, we might not have a future, and we might be doing our own thing in our own pockets and making and putting money in our banks, and but finally it's all going to go boom. So if you have that urgency in your heart, I think these solutions are easy to come to, because then you're all, anyway you have to create a win-win, because there's no choice. So, and this is why it's so important that communities gather, people gather, leaders gather, to listen, to learn, to collaborate, and to work together, because it's not about CEYLON Foundation's Bleed Good initiative. It's about period poverty, it's about climate justice, it's about how you create solutions that do no harm to this world at this moment.
On that note, just remember, this topic that we spoke about and this initiative that has taken off, it's not only about period poverty or periods or speaking about issues that only affect women. It's far from it. It's something that affects us all, and very soon, if we do not find a solution or open conversations based on this. We're not going to create awareness or even put that seed in people's minds so that they'll start thinking about it and making those small changes, just like what Shanuki said. Thank you, the four of you, for the work that you do and also for the time that you spend doing work that will change the world little by little for a better one. On the note, we need to wrap things up. Thank you for being on the show and thanks for following the journey of the Bleed Good initiative and at the same time Celine Foundation. More on this very soon. Till then, you keep smiling. It's a wrap.